I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and I'm thrilled you could join me today. We're doing a little re-release episode, so I'm not going to waste your time much up front here. We're going to get right into it. If Lisa Frank opened a tattoo parlor and started a food blog, you get today's guest, the undefeated champ of vegan mayhem. It's Natalie Slater. She was on episode 4 way back in the day. She is one of my besties here in Chicago. I love and adore her, and I wanted to bring this episode up to the forefront for you here. Natalie Slater is a blogger and the author of the cookbook Bake and Destroy Good Food for Bad Vegans. She heads up marketing for the fierce, independently owned meat alternative brand Upton's Naturals here in Chicago, one of my absolute favorite brands, always and forever. So when you're scrolling that Upton's Naturals Insta, that is all Natalie, my friends. Natalie started the Bake and Destroy blog in 2006 while on maternity leave. Bake and Destroy features original vegan recipes influenced by punk rock, heavy metal, junk food, and maybe a bit of pro wrestling. Occasionally, Natalie will interview chefs, indie designers, and other interesting folks for the blog as well. She has appeared on several TV shows on the Food Network, The Cooking Channel, and WTTW Chicago tonight. And we get into a very interesting conversation about Food Network, and I'm excited for everyone to hear about it. We really get a behind the scenes look from Natalie, so I'm so happy she shared some great stories with us. Beyond TV, Natalie has appeared on the pages of Time Out Chicago and Bust magazine. If you know what's good for you, you will follow her on Instagram if you aren't already at, you guessed it, Bake and Destroy. Here's a look back at one of the OG episodes of Keep On Cooking with one of my favorite people on the planet and all-around badass. It's Natalie Slater. She has been fired from more reality TV shows than you can imagine. Her words, not mine, and we will get into it. Please welcome Natalie Slater here. We're diving into your icebreaker question. Your icebreaker question is, if you were a wrestler, what would be your entrance theme song?
Okay, my theme song would be by L7, which is a really awesome 90s like grunge all-female band.
Love this.
And
look it up.
the song is Fast and Frightening.
I don't know the song, but I love that title, so I can only imagine.
It's really great.
And I'm going to look it up.
It's just a song. It's like one woman singing a song about another woman who she just thinks is really cool and badass.
I love it. Had you ever have you have an interest in wrestling? Have you ever been a wrestler? Where did the wrestling interest come from?
Well, I grew up watching wrestling, like
All right.
most Midwestern kids who are, grew up in the 80s. But later in life, like right around my senior year in high school, I met the wrestler who wrote the intro to my book, CM Punk.
Oh, yeah. I'm about getting ready to talk about that.
Yeah, he grew up in Lockport. I grew up in Joliet. Those are cities that are like 15 minutes away from each other. So we met at a party, just like a high school party. And it turned out that he had been doing like amateur wrestling and all his friends were wrestlers. And so I started hanging around with them all the time. And so there's just like this big part of my life that all my friends were aspiring pro wrestlers. And then eventually one of them actually joined the WWE and became one of its biggest stars. And that's Phil, who wrote the intro. So
I love it.
Yeah, it's just like a weird, I don't watch it currently, so I don't know
Sure.
what is going on anymore, but definitely for a big part of my life, it was like one of my main interests.
Well, I mean, you also mentioned, Rhonda from USA Up All Night.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not watching her anymore either. So it's just part of, influence and history and where we've been. I love it,
Exactly. That's actually one of the things that I'm like, and like now if I could go back, oh gosh, I would name that recipe after almost anyone else, because she really it turns out her politics and mine are very different from each other.
I have not even, I don't even know where she is and what she's doing. I had no idea. I don't even remember I did watch USA Up
all night, but I don't remember what I ever watched movie-wise. I remember her, but I don't remember
Yeah.
any of the movies that I ever saw.
Oh, you probably saw Attack of the Killer Tomatoes
That actually sounds
or
familiar.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
That was yes, and that was the first DVD that I owned actually, and probably because I saw it on USA up all night. Was Gilbert
Yeah.
Godfrey a part of that? Am I remembering
Yes.
that? There we
Yes.
go.
He was a host.
Did they host together?
I don't know if they ever did it together. I know she was one, he was one. Like, there was some like Billy Bob or Jim.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jim Bob or somebody.
That's making sense.
I think they usually did it themselves though. They were like individual hosts.
But let's talk about a little bit about your history first. Where did you grow up and what got you into baking and cooking to begin with?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a city that's about an hour south of Chicago it's called Joliet. Not really it's a little too far away to be a suburb, but people that live there kind of consider themselves very, very far south side Chicagoans.
Sure.
So that's where I grew up, and my family moved for a really short couple of years to Arizona and then moved right back again. So I kind of just gloss over those years because it was really fast. But I don't know, both my parents work. So as the oldest child, I'm 5 years older than my sister, and my sister and brother are 18 months apart. So that's what we like to call Irish twins. And so as the oldest kid, my job when I got home from school was usually to get something started for dinner, whether I was just like defrosting something or whatever. So I was cooking from a pretty young age, just from kind of being the oldest kid and taking care of my siblings. But I also really liked it because when my mom would bake for us, for like specifically, that was always like a special occasion. We weren't a family that always had like treats around necessarily. So
Sure.
It was like Christmas or a birthday or something. And I always liked to help with that. So I've always been interested in what goes on in the kitchen.
Well, and you said, and there's a point in the book where you mentioned a dairy-free cake from your mom that she always made. I know that not always vegan, but was there a reason she was making a dairy-free cake for you, or?
Well, I was vegan pretty young and early on in the 90s. So there was a lot of improv that happened because people didn't really know what to make back then. But
wait, so you were vegan? Well, so I guess I'm trying to clarify for myself. Then I feel like on the blog there was a point where it was not all vegan, and then it went all vegan.
Yeah, I went back and forth a bit. So I was vegan in the 90s and stuck with it like for a pretty long time, like probably 10 years. And then I had a little period of time where I was traveling a lot with my boyfriend and like finding myself like starving all the time because there weren't vegan restaurants, and I wasn't like, there was no way for me to like prepare or cook on the road, which now I feel like if I was in a position where I was going to be traveling, obviously I'm speaking to the vegan roadie, so you know something about this. I would be like better prepared, and I wouldn't like, there wouldn't really be any excuses. But back then it was like, well, the only thing open at 4 a.m. is this diner. And so I guess I'll eat a pancake, like a dry pancake. If I don't put butter on it, then that's not as bad. And so there was a period of time where I was eating dairy products again, but happily it was short, and I've been back into being vegan for quite a long time. But my family definitely was not. Like, we were a very, Midwestern, like burgers, and hot dogs kind of a family. So, but I was lucky that when I did get into it as a high schooler, that my mom was pretty cool about trying to make things for me.
Well, how's your family? Because so I'm from Michigan originally, and growing up, I wasn't vegan until like 11 years ago, I think, and it still has. My family's very into it, but they don't do it on their own. And now I cook for everything if I'm around them. No one's ever really like, "Oh, I made this vegan dish for you." So I love hearing
Oh.
that your mom made a dairy-free cake. How is it with your family? Is anyone in your family vegan now? I mean, you have a very high presence in the vegan community. So are they into it? Do they dig it? Or are they kind of like, yeah, whatever, that's her thing?
Yeah, well, I do. My cousin Allison is the other vegan in my family, and um, she lives in the Twin Cities, so she's a lucky girl and gets to go to the herbivorous butcher and all that
Yes.
good stuff. I feel like Allison and you and I probably all have a lot of friends in common because of that connection. But my family's really cool. Like my mom gets it, my sister gets it. We actually had a completely vegan Thanksgiving the last time that we all had Thanksgiving together.
Yes.
Yeah, they're amazing. I can't, and even like my extended family, we went to St. Louis a few years ago also for Thanksgiving, and my cousins were like bringing me things that they like. One of my cousins found Heidi Ho cheese at Whole Foods and was
All
like
right.
really excited for us to all try it. And so I'm really lucky. My family is not only like not they don't try to sabotage me in the way that I've had a lot of friends say their families have, but
Sure.
they're actually like really interested in it. And while they may not be vegan themselves, like they're really open to it and really cool about it.
It's so crazy to me that you say vegan Thanksgiving. I offered up a couple of years ago to my family. I was visiting like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and I said, "Hey, can we all get together?" I said, "And I will do the whole spread. I will make a completely vegan Thanksgiving for the whole family." And they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, sure." And then like days before, they were like, "So we're gonna get a turkey," and I was like, "Man." I was like, you guys are going to have your Thanksgiving in 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm just trying to offer up this plant based Thanksgiving. Like, there's always, my mom has asked me to make a turkey up until like a year ago. Like, if I'm home for Thanksgiving, she's like, okay, will you help with the turkey? And I'm like, I don't think you're really understanding where this is coming from at this point.
Right.
So it's always interesting to see for me to see how other people's families sort of, either they lean into it or, they think they're allergic to it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to do a little deep dive into, you say a great thing in your book that says you've been fired from more reality TV shows than you can imagine. Well, first of all, you were the winner of the Perfect 3 Cooking Channel contest. So you had a winning cupcake recipe, the banana bread French toast cupcake, which is actually in the Bake and Destroy cookbook. David's here clapping his hands because we made it yesterday. And
oh, thanks, David.
oh my gosh, we're having trouble not devouring all of them. I think we'll probably have them right after this. But then, and you were also a host on the pilot episode of Food Network's Cupcake Wars, which blows my mind.
Yeah,
because
I was asked to not return.
What?
Yeah, that was one of the many one of the many times I've been asked to not return.
All right, so this
show.
goes right into it. So let's deep dive into all this because to me, reality television and food is fascinating. And you and I discussed it a little. I had a great day with Natalie in Chicago when I was there on my book tour for Epic Vegan. You were so kind. She helped me. I had an appearance on TV. She helped me set everything up. And then she like basically just took me around and gave me the vegan rundown in Chicago, which was amazing.
That was really fun.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it was such a fun day. It makes it so much better when I do those things, when I get to meet someone like you who is like just happy to share stuff with me and like let me see all that Chicago or any city, in those instances has to offer. And I was so grateful for it. But in that, you kind of mentioned TV stuff a couple times, and I was like, I need to learn a little bit more about this. So in this, been fired for more reality TV shows than you can imagine. So you were asked not to return. Why? What did you do? Were you a salty lady?
No, it was so funny telling it now that Food Network is what it is, and just that, and like celebrity chefs being what they are. It's like people can't really wrap their brains around it. But this was like close to 10 years ago, and they were still kind of running a lot of Iron Chef. Like there wasn't a lot of original content on Food Network. And what they did have was like Bobby Flay and like, pretty conservative types of shows.
Sure.
And so I'll try to give you the shortest version of the story I can. It's a long story, but basically they called me. I had been speaking to a producer, not related to anything they wanted me for, but it was just somebody that was scouting locations in Chicago for a totally unrelated reality show, and had somehow found me and thought that I had a good grasp of like places in Chicago that you could shoot things. And so I'd had a chat with her, totally nothing to do with food at all, about some places that she could shoot this show. And she also happened to be working on this pilot for Food Network, this cupcake competition for Food Network. And they had already been filming a bit of it and just didn't love the chemistry of the judges that they had. So they had Jane, I think her name's Jane Lockhart from Sweet Lady Jane in LA, pretty famous bakery. Candace
and she
Nelson,
was on yours. She was on you're talking, are these the judges that were on the episode you did?
Yeah. So
okay.
they had Candace Nelson from Sprinkles, who did end up being a judge like for several seasons. And they had someone else who I don't know. And it just, for some reason, the three of them, it just wasn't great chemistry. So this producer that I had already had talked to previously called me up one night when I had my son in the bathtub and I was like getting ready to just go to work the next day, whatever. Sure. Called me and was like, explain to me really quickly what was going on. We just need a different dynamic. I think you'd be really great. Can you fly to LA tomorrow and stay here a few days and shoot this show? So I, of course, said yes, because that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I went there, and the first thing that happened was one of the producers came to my hotel room and just went through all the clothes I'd brought, and was really concerned about all my tattoos, and didn't think that Food Network would like all my tattoos. And so went out and bought me a long sleeve black shirt to wear underneath a dress, to cover up a lot of my tattoos. And they actually taped my shirt. They taped it to my collarbone so that my chest tattoos wouldn't show, and they taped it to my wrist so that like the sleeves wouldn't creep up. So
I'm covering my face with my palms right now. Oh my gosh.
I mean, think about the chefs that you see on TV now, and think about the fact that they taped my clothes to my body.
Wow. Mind-blowing.
Physically really uncomfortable because I was the only one in long sleeves, and we were filming in a tent.
Oh yeah, I watched the episode this morning. I was like, that's in a tent. Like, what is going on there? Yeah,
it was a tent. So it was like really hot, and then there's studio lights inside of it. So it was just like so crazy hot. I'm the only one dressed like that, and I'm just feeling bad about myself. Just because like, the way I took it was like, your body is too gross for TV. We're going to cover it all up. So I just felt really weird, and I feel like I didn't really get to be myself in it.
Well, because that's exactly why you're feeling weird. They were not letting you be yourself. So of course you're going to feel strange,
So, and then the few things that I did get to say on screen that I felt like did kind of show some personality and were like observations that I thought were good observations, a lot of them got cut.
Of course.
So like, it just was weird. And so when they ended up airing it and the show got picked up, they just, they wrote me a really nice email, like thanking me for my time and just letting me know that they decided to go in another direction with the judges. And like, they didn't have Jane back either. So I didn't really take it. It wasn't like a major blow to me or anything, but it was just one, there was another reality show that was being filmed in Chicago around, there used to be like a punk rock bakery here called Bleeding Heart Bakery.
Okay.
And the chef from that bakery was always on Food Network. She was in like all of the cake building competitions, she and her husband. And anyway, this company contacted me and wanted to do a show about my bakery, which did not exist. They just assumed that I had one based on my blog. And I explained that
I'm familiar.
I'm
familiar.
Yeah, right. So, people just assume, like, you get those comments that are like, when I'm in Chicago, I can't wait to come try your food. And I'm like, at my house? Like, what do you mean? So anyway, I explained, like, I don't have a bakery actually. And they're like, oh, well, maybe you'd want to do a show about opening one. And I was like, no, I don't want to open a bakery either.
On TV at that, my gosh.
Right. So they basically worked it out so that the show took place at this bakery that did exist. And then they just made it up that I worked there.
Oh my gosh.
Reality.
And was this Food Network or who was this?
It was, on the show was the, the marketing and PR person at the bakery. Cause you know how bakeries have in-house marketing and PR on staff.
like they do.
And so we filmed for months. I mean, we filmed for like 6 months.
Oh my gosh. Making it up. You were just making it up.
Yeah. I mean, they hired people to play like incompetent employees,
wow.
and to get fired. And like, there was all kinds of stupid stuff, but they would often feed us lines. And they were usually something that I didn't want to say, just because it was like embarrassing or just whatever. And so I would change the line on the fly. And sometimes that was okay with them. And sometimes we would get into a little like standoff about it. And at one point they wanted me to say, we're just a bunch of girls kicking butt and taking names. And I wouldn't. I was just like, why would I be saying that in this
Natalie,
moment?
why wouldn't you say that? My goodness.
At a bakery, why would I say that? And I tried to work with, I was like, well, what if I said this? And they're like, just say the line. What if I said it this way? They're like, just say it. And something happened in my brain where I just couldn't get over it.
Sure.
And I just was like, no, have someone else say it. I'm not saying that. And the producer or whoever, I don't remember who was telling me what to do at that time, but somebody told me that if I didn't want to say it, that I could leave. And I was like, okay. And I just stood up and like pulled my mic off. And the guy told me, good luck ever working in this business with that attitude. And I was like, I don't work in this business. I work at an e-commerce website that sells reusable bags and straws.
Right.
This job that I'm doing on your show isn't real. And real. I don't want to do this. Like I was doing this for fun. So it's not fun anymore. And I'm just going to go back to my life. So and I've filmed like a few, we talked about this when you were in Chicago, but like a few like sizzle reels for places that thought they had an idea. And I just always get the feedback, like to be bigger and louder. And it's like, well, I'm not big and loud though. So it's really hard for me to do that and feel good about myself. So it's just not for me. I have a lot of respect for people that, especially when you can watch a show and someone is really dynamic and it doesn't seem like, I always got feedback like, be more like, more like Guy Fieri. And nothing against him, but
sure.
I can't.
Well, no, and that's what I mean. The reason I'm like, is that thing they tell you. It's so funny. In my background's in theater, and often you get the comment of like, well, just be yourself. And in this instance, it's like, just be anything but yourself is what they're telling you. It's such a strange world, really.
It's
truly.
Weird to me to find someone's person, to get to know somebody's personality online, whether it's through social media or their writing or if they do YouTube videos or whatever, and to be drawn to it enough to say, we want you in our project, but then to get that person and be like, but be more like this other person
Right.
who's
Right.
not in our project. It's just really, so I don't know. I think if it had been part of, if it had been a dream of mine ever to do something like that, maybe I would be willing to work harder at it and be more flexible, but it was just never, I've never really been, I don't care if I make like videos or if it's on TV or if it's not on TV, like really doesn't matter to me. So I didn't really pursue it that hard, but but it's funny to be rejected from something that you don't want or care about.
Right.
It's like in some ways more insulting because I'm just like, I don't want this. So quit telling me I can't have it.
So you're telling me if you really wanted it, you would have said that you're a bunch of girls baking and kicking butt is what you're telling me.
Maybe. I guess we'll never know because I didn't care.
Well, that's all right. I mean, I think you're doing just fine, and we're lucky to have you on those social media channels as we do. You guys check out our Instagram. It's at Bake and Destroy. Of course, your blog, bakeanddestroy.com. What I love about the blog is how honest you are. You just give basic, honest reviews about things that's not really sugar-coated, and you do it in a funny way that's engaging and entertaining. You've got your Friday 5, which always gives some nice insight to things. But then you've got this cookbook, AAA, Bake and Destroy. This came out in what, 2013?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Long time.
And so I first discovered you, I had seen the cookbook, and then you commented somewhere on something on mine on Instagram, I think, and then I got the cookbook and I made something, and then I looked at it closer. You made a comment on a stuffing muffin that I did, and you were like, oh my God, we're sharing the same brain. And I was like, what is she talking about? We both like crazy food, I guess. And then I looked at your book some more and my mind was blown. I get cookbooks. I flip through quick and I make something usually. And then it's one of the reasons I'm doing the podcast, to dive more into the books that I've gotten. Because I tell you already, just reading from the intro in the beginning, one of the things I love is that, you talk about cookbooks being bossy and they're telling you how to make the best cupcake and the ultimate cornbread. But you have a natural aversion to being told what to do. So it inspired you to start Bake and Destroy so you can inspire people to try new things in the kitchen. And that's sort of what I think about too. I want to eliminate the stress for people. I feel like people get caught up in that. And I feel like you've done that with this book. And that was your intention, right?
It was. And I think, it's the same reason why I really love your books and why I became a fan of yours too, because it's not a cookbook doesn't have to be a rule book. I like a cookbook to be inspirational and a suggestion and maybe like some foundations. And then once you have an idea of like how this thing can come together, then like, sure. If you don't like mushrooms, then leave them out. Or if you like it spicier, then make it spicier. It can be whatever you want. It doesn't have to be so fussy. And I find the same thing to be true about your recipes. Like you can do the whole, every step of the way. You can make the crab rangoon pizza like beginning to end, and it's going to be really fun and it's going to be really awesome. But you can also like shortcut here, shortcut there, throw something else in there. And you didn't ruin it. It's going to be just as good.
It kind of, I like people to have the feeling that they can, if you look at something and you're like, oh, well, that has black olives and I don't like black olives. Well, then take them out and put green olives in, or don't use them at all. Like, don't use olives then, Right. And I enjoy sort of your approach at giving people the freedom to do stuff like that. It's original vegan recipes influenced by punk rock, heavy metal, junk food, and maybe a bit of pro wrestling. Speaking of pro wrestling, I'm looking at the forward right now, and I'm just he is hot. CM Punk, you guys. There's a picture in Natalie's book of this man who wrote the forward, and he's wearing his wrestling gear. And I'm telling you, good stuff in this forward. Right straight away, you're giving us some eye candy, okay?
Yeah, I figure if I can't lure you in with cupcakes, what about this wrestler?
What about this hot wrestling picture here? Well, and then we turn it and we've got a foxy picture of you as well. So, I mean, you're covering us on all angles. I've talked to you about this before. I love the design of this book. I think it's so thought out and it's so in line with your blog. And you've got all these great photographs in it of yourself, but of the food as well. But I love seeing you in this book because the book, you have such a specific influence with the, heavy metal, punk rock, wrestling, all that stuff. It's great to see the person behind the recipes. I'm really impressed in how it all came together with all the illustrations and everything as well. Now, did this book come about because you had won the contest on Perfect 3?
Yeah, in a way. I had, after that happened, well, after Food Network and then later after Cooking Channel, I had a lot of places, a lot of publishers approaching me to write specific books that they already kind of wanted. Like, oh, well, we want to do a punk rock cupcake book, or we want to do, and it was like, I really didn't have any interest in doing any of those things, especially because my kind of interest, like, for instance, the punk rock cupcake cookbook, I didn't say no right away, and they wanted me to come up with a few ideas, and the ideas that I pitched them were based on punk bands that I like. And they didn't know who they were. So, they came back and said, well, we were thinking more like this one's a Clash one, and this one is the Ramones, and this one is the Sex Pistols. I'm like, oh, yeah, you should have someone else write that book, because that's not really I would really have to do some research to know more about those bands.
Sure.
I didn't listen to them growing up. So I had a lot of that happening, and I just really didn't think it was ever going to happen. And actually, it was Julie Hassan from Portland. She's written a bunch of books.
Okay.
She one day out of nowhere just sent me a message on Facebook and said, have you ever thought about writing a cookbook? And I said, sure, but I don't think I ever will, And she said, well, my agent's really great. My literary agent's really awesome. And I think that she could help you do the book you want to do. Cause I had been pretty open about my frustrations with just getting these really lame ideas thrown my way, or getting an idea that could have been cool and then having somebody just really neuter it. So Julie knew that I had been kind of going through this process. So she put me in touch with her agent, Sally Eckes, who, I had a few phone calls with her, and she looked at a lot of my writing and looked at a lot of the videos I'd done, and had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do, and walked me through the whole process of writing a proposal for my dream book. And I did all the work that's I think really important to do if you are going to write a cookbook, which is look at the competitive landscape. You might think nobody has done a wrestling donut book, but you're probably wrong. So look at what's out there, think really hard about what you can offer that's different, and what, just spend some time on that, and really spend time thinking about what you want it to look like what you want it to feel like, what you want everything, what type of photography. And so she helped me a lot with that process. And I ended up with an idea of doing really a really eclectic and kind of goofy, I knew I wanted a lot of my idea for the illustrations was kind of on Sesame Street. There used to be that one music video of a juice cup with a little guy animated on it. And it was I wish I could remember the song. It was something little super guy before your eyes, like that. So I describe that. I want there to be illustrations over the photographs, and I want there to be little doodles everywhere. And just I just kind of laid it all out. And, we just pushed and pushed until we found a publisher that was just jazzed on the idea. I had a lot of calls and a lot of meetings with publishers that were what if it was this, or what if it was that, or, they really kind of had their own wanted to shape it their own way, or like I had one publisher that liked the whole idea, except that he already had a tattooed baker. That's what he said. We already have one. So,
wow.
and I looked at
Was it a female?
the titles. Yeah, they had like a, you know, like a girl in Portland with tattoos who did
Gotcha.
a baking book, and so they
Gotcha.
felt like they'd already done that. And I looked at her body of work, and I looked at like their whole catalog, and they had published like a lot of big names. Like they had a lot of Paula Deen books, and they had a lot of like, you know, just like a lot of like Ina Garden books and stuff. And I made this whole chart, like comparing myself with their other baker and what kind of stuff she does, what kind of stuff I do. And then also pointed out to them that they had kind of a lot of older white ladies doing similar things that didn't seem to bother them. And I sent it to them directly, and they were really mad about it, and my agent had to call me and tell me never to do that again in a really nice way. But, you know, she was like, hey, maybe don't make sassy charts and send them to publishers.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much. I mean, honestly, these are the things I've over the last year getting to know you that I enjoy the most is sort of, I mean, you just have a direct approach that's very like, okay, well, here's the logistics on that. So can you tell me why again?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I just wanted to know. Like, I compared our tattoos. I was like, she has like 3 triangles on her forearm, and I have a neck tattoo. Like, what? But then we finally found Page Street, and they honestly were just like, yeah, wrestling, punk, 80s television shows, weird shit, a part about birds eating your plate. It's all great. Let's do it.
I love it.
And they had 2 edits to the whole book, which is amazing.
Gosh.
Phil had originally concluded his foreword with the words F cookbooks, because there's a story that's on a DVD about him that the WWE put out, where one of the like bonus features, because I was in his DVD, is a part where I'm telling the camera crew a story about Easter. Phil was at my house. My mom made him an Easter basket and gave it to him, and he said F Easter to my mom. And she was really offended, but now that's what my family all says to each other on Easter. Everybody all texts F Easter to each other. And the point of the story was just that Phil can be really, like, he's not for everyone, and he does whatever he wants, and he can be really abrasive, but at the end of the day, he's so charming that it's like all of those things that actually make people really love him. So what was like a really offensive thing to say to my mom became my family's official Easter greeting. And so he signed his intro to my book, F Cookbooks, as like a little nod to that.
Sure.
But of course, if you don't know the story, it's a weird way to end end something. So they got rid of that. And then there was just like one other tiny thing that I said that was like maybe a little bit too, it was like a little sexually suggestive, and they're like, maybe that's not how to word it. So it was, but really of the whole book, for those to be the 2 things, I was like really impressed by them. Just how that they were willing to make like a really weird book. Like for the time, it was really weird book. You know?
Listen, that's the interesting thing about this is when you and I first started talking, and then when I really started looking at this book, I saw it right after I had finished the manuscript for Epic Vegan. And I thought in my brain, I'm like, well, why the hell did I write Epic Vegan? This has already been done. Like this, you know, this is like the first version of that. It's amazing. You know, it's like all these sweet and savory combinations and sort of like, you know, junk foody things that are going to make people go, what? Like a Chico stick cheesecake? Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like I feel like in a way my go of it was like like the kind of like the home cook like version of it. And when I saw Epic Vegan, I was like, oh, this is like what I wanted to do, but my background is really, like I'm a home cook. Like, I'm not trained in any way. So I feel like you took that same, like, let's just go big and get weird and like put weird stuff together, but you have a really good background that like kind of helps to like make all of those things like really, really work. And I think that's why your recipes can also be pulled apart and used in different ways the way they can, whereas you might not be able to do that with so many of mine because they kind of rely on each other to work more. Like, they don't necessarily stand alone. And so I feel like you and I have the same like idea, and we both like, like have fun and try to just like get really weird, but it's just like really different approaches.
Well,
so
I always think about if we were to write one together, I would just have to say, I'm not eating the right food for the next year. I'm just going to gain 20 pounds and I'm just going to recipe test everything that Natalie and I can think of to come up with together. Cause it would just be, it would be amazing, but it would be crazy, I think.
It's that skit, the Saturday Night Live skit, where it's like a taco wrapped in a pizza, like wrapped in a
exactly
calzone in a bag full of chili.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I haven't even seen that skit, but that's exactly what this is.
I'll just send it to you because it's like, that's how I always think of like both of our ideas, where it's like, it starts as a cake, but hear me out. It ends up
that's exactly
as a casserole with a milkshake.
Oh my God.
Now stick with me.
Stick with me. We're going to do this. I mean, one of the things I love though, yours is very approachable. I feel like it's, I often people look at Epic and they're like, oh, but this and that. And that's when I have to go into the thing where you kind of just said, where you're like, no, you can pull it apart. You can make one this or one that, but all of your stuff, it's very approachable. French fry tacos, green bean casserole, pizza, spaghetti cake with Grandma Sharon's hater-proof sauce. Like, it's all of these. Oh, and one of my favorites is the pizza cupcakes. Like, I'm over the moon for them. I think any form you can put pizza in is amazing. So I'm always here for it. What's your favorite recipe in this book, if you had to pick one, which is always a crazy ass question?
Yeah. Well, I really, the taco lasagna is something that I actually literally make on a regular basis.
I just saw that and I was like, oh, I need to make this like tomorrow.
It's one that like, it's, same thing. Like, people, I never wanted anyone to look at that and say, like, I don't like mushrooms. Like, that's fine. Leave them out. Like, put seitan in or don't or whatever. Like, it doesn't, it doesn't have to be, listen, you're making a taco lasagna. Nothing about this is serious.
That's exactly
just
right, though.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, take the seriousness out of it and just have some fun in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, I liked that a lot too. Like, I got in touch with you to see if we could serve a dish from Epic Vegan at Upton's Break Room in Chicago, because I thought it would be fun to have a special on the menu when you were in town. And like, I was really happy that you had that same attitude. Like, we, in a restaurant, you kind of have to work with what you have, and you don't want to ever have a dish that requires a lot of ingredients that you're not going to use in any other way. So like, we made your breakfast nachos, which is still one of our most successful specials that we've ever run. People really loved it.
Oh my gosh.
It was yeah.
That just made my world.
That, but yeah, it was. But yeah, it was just cool that you were like, yeah, you can, like, I asked you, like, would it be okay if we did this instead of that? Or, and you're just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's breakfast nachos.
Yeah, right? Right? It's like nachos. First of all, nachos, period. Like, oh my gosh, can't go wrong. You got tachos in this book too. Well, so taco lasagna, and that's the coolest thing about this too. I want to clarify that for everyone. It's called Bake and Destroy, but it's not just about sweet baked goods. Clearly, all the things we've said, there's a lot of savory items in here for everybody to sort of sink their teeth into, which is a really great addition. There's a barbecue salad in here, isn't there? I believe I made one from here once. I gotta look. Isn't there a barbecue salad in here?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yep, barbecue salad. So even if you want to get some greens in, there's stuff to get there. I'm going to ask you a specific question about a favorite. What's your favorite? I think you and I, looking at your book, there's a whole pizza chapter in Epic. So then looking at this, there's pizzas peppered throughout this. What's your favorite pizza from this book, from Bake and Destroy?
Oh, I think that's a tough one. I've probably made the green bean casserole one the most. Because it's kind of a fun one to bring for the holidays.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that.
But I don't know. The breakfast one is really good too, just because it has a biscuit crust and I love biscuits.
Well, so see, that's exactly you and I. That's when this got weird because there's a deep dish brunch breakfast pizza or brunch deep dish brunch pizza in Epic Vegan. And so I had written this book and then I'm flipping through yours. And that's when you had commented on the stuffing muffin. And then I looked in yours and there's a stuffing muffin. Now, both of ours are totally different, actually. I've looked at the recipes and they're both totally different. But I was like, oh my gosh, we are thinking from the same brain. This is insane.
Yeah, it's funny because the way that I found you was Laura from Urban First Butcher emailed me and was like, she wanted to know if the company I was working for at the time, I Heart Quinoa, wanted to work with you to promote your first book.
Sweet Angel. How sweet of her to do that. That's so kind.
And she was like, plus, I don't know if you know Dustin, but I think you guys will really get along. It just seems like you have like similar approaches, or she said something like that, where she was just like, I really think you would like him. So I started following you, and you know, like your first book had just come out, but you were like already working on Epic. So you were like posting a lot of your, like your
that
tests,
crazy
and things
stuff,
like that.
basically.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. Like, this is all stuff I want. Like, this is great. So yeah, I couldn't help myself. There were a few times where I was like, get out when I would see the things you made.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I love
it.
That's great. It's so great. I love this book, you guys. It's honestly, I will say for me, this type of book, it's one of those ones you can just come back to again and again. I would say it's the only cookbook you ever need, but I think everyone needs to buy several cookbooks. But reason I would say that about a book like this is because there's such a huge variety in it for people. You're not just giving a straightforward, here's a side dish chapter and here's this. If it's a side dish, it's a side dish that's exciting. So it's either you're going to return to it again or you can make it a different way to suit your taste, as we've discussed a lot in this already. So I think there's like so many ways to use this book. So I really hope people get out and buy it, and also take a look at, bakeanddestroy.com, of course. But really, just buy the book, y'all. Bake and Destroy. It's fantastic. Are you up for some rapid fire questions, Natalie?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We're going to do a daily dozen of rapid fire questions with you. Baking.
Oh boy.
All right, here we go. A celebrity you would love to bake for.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of somebody I really love.
It's not Rhonda. We know that.
Yeah, not Rhonda. I think maybe Trixie Mattel.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh.
I've been watching so much, because Trixie's been making a lot of YouTube videos, which is really great because there's nothing to do right now. So it's so nice that there's something new all the time. And I watched the documentary that just came out.
Ask, the Moving Parts?
Yes, Moving Parts.
Yeah, we watched it too.
Like, I just really love her. I don't know. I think it's, like Midwesterners, we're all drawn to each other. I just, like, a big part of it has to be that. But I don't know. I just really love her. So
I was a little unsatisfied in that movie with David and I both were, when it was over, how we didn't really get the resolve with Katya. And bless, it's personal life, and like, I don't necessarily need to know. It ain't my business. But at the same time, you put a portion of it in the documentary and then you didn't resolve with me. Like, you just kind of saw them back together. And I was like, but wait,
that's true.
She
was just kind of sitting there at the end, and it was like, well, did she apologize or what happened?
Yeah. What happened here?
Yeah.
Sorry, rapid fire, but I was ready to go on about Drag Race. Could talk about it. Well,
I mean, if Katya also wanted to eat some cupcakes with me, that I would be fine with that also.
100%. So we're going to get back to your rapid fire. So that was celebrity you would love to bake for, and it was Trixie Mattel. Now, midnight snack.
Midnight snack. I think just like cereal. I love a bowl of cereal.
Fantastic. My only problem with cereal is that I can't stop. Like I have a little bit and I'm like, I want so much more. Baked or fried?
Baked.
Yeah, girl. Cupcake or donut?
Oh gosh. Probably donut because I don't make donuts. So
all right.
I'm more excited about it, donut.
I hear you. Food on a skewer or on a tiny spoon?
Oh God, on a skewer, I think.
Would you rather never cook again or never taste again?
I guess never cook.
All right. Brad Pitt or Bradley Cooper?
Oh boy, Brad Pitt, I think.
There you go. Favorite kitchen tool?
That I use all the time. Just like a good knife.
Yes. Hot sauce or barbecue sauce?
Barbecue sauce.
Now, what was your first job in food, but actually I want to know, what was your first job? Maybe it wasn't food.
Well, it kind of was because I was a hostess at Baker Square, which is a restaurant chain here.
All right. Okay. And then
I was not involved in cooking anything, although sometimes I did defrost the pies.
There you go. That was, and that is where it all began. Favorite ingredient to cook with?
Ginger.
Ah, yes. And breakfast for dinner or dinner for breakfast?
Oh, breakfast for dinner, for sure.
Yes, 100%. Me too. Now we're going to end things on a little something we like to call book brag.
Book brag!
So I would like for you, if you can, and this is your moment to brag, but just tell us something that you're most proud of when it comes to the Bake and Destroy cookbook.
Okay. I think I'm most proud of just how many of my friends I got to involve in the process. The illustrations were done by my friend Agnes. The crockery that you see in there with my logos on it was made by my friends Nancy and Andy at Circus Ceramics. Obviously, my friend wrote the intro. The little doodles were all done by my friend Amanda and her sister. And the photography was done by my friend Sean. So it was just like fun to be able to collaborate with a bunch of people that I really like, and especially to be able to work with my friends and pay them, because a lot of times when you're like, oh, my friend's a really great photographer, like that doesn't translate into like, I'll pay you money to do this.
Right.
But in this case it did. So that, I think that was like, that's the part that I like the most about it.
I love that. I'm on Epic Vegan. I was able to have my friend Ashley do the photography for it, and it was so cool. Just like you're saying, to have someone you know working on it with, to be able to collaborate with someone that you respect and that you're friends with. And now she's doing the photos for the next Epic Vegan book, so I'm totally stoked.
Yay. Well, the photos were great, so that's a good collab.
I love them, and she's so talented, so I feel very fortunate that she's got the time to do it. Speaking of second books, you just did something when Coronagate started. You released a bunch of recipes that, from the sounds of it, you were saving for a second book, and you kind of said, well, I guess these just aren't going to go into a book. I'm going to give them out for free. Does that mean we're not getting a second Bake and Destroy book?
Oh, I don't know. I was just telling my husband that, like, I'm still working, fortunately, so I'm able to work from home. If I wasn't, this is probably when I would be working on a second book, just because I don't know when I would ever have this much time at home again. But I don't know. I don't know if I have it in me. It's a lot of work, and then like when you get done with all of the recipes and the testing and all that kind of stuff, then there's like all the work of promoting it, and it's a lot to do. And if your heart isn't in it, which right now mine I don't think would be, I don't think any part of it would be fun. So I think I'd rather just like keep doing what I'm doing, and if something changes and all of a sudden I feel like I've got a whole like 90 recipes in me that can all be released in book form, then great. But if not, then I'm perfectly happy making things up and putting them in my Instagram stories for people to try.
Well, I was going to say, that's the best part. It's not like we're lost on recipes from you. Thankfully, there's bacondestroy.com and at bacondestroy on Instagram. Well, how many recipes did you give away for free then when you did that? How many did you post?
Well, so actually what I posted was my original manuscript for Bake and Destroy.
Oh my gosh,
so
that is amazing.
There are typos.
Hey, I'm here for it. Oh, what do you mean? You're a real human?
Yeah. Believe it or not, I am a real human. Yeah, and it's like there aren't any photos. Like it's literally just a giant Word doc of recipes. But I had been hanging on to it because, you know, my publisher is like, I got the rights back to all the things I wrote,
Sure.
and I'm free to like. I was thinking I would like rework a lot of them and add a bunch of new stuff and whatever and do something new with all that info. And then like all this stuff happened and I noticed that people were like at home cooking a lot and I was getting a lot more questions about how to make things. And I was just like, why don't you just have this? Like it's just sitting in my Google Drive. Like I'll just put it on the internet. So I was really excited to see that people downloaded it and were trying new things. And you can still, if you want all the photos, if you want the picture of CM Punk in his underwear, if you want like, you know, all that good stuff, like there are still copies of the book floating around. Like you can find it on Amazon, but if you just want to try a weird recipe, like you can just download the whole thing for free.
I say go buy the book, y'all. But I love it. Thank you for those gifts. Thank you for being you. I'm so grateful to know you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
It was great to talk to you. I miss you. I can't wait to come visit.
This has been a Muzzy Cat production.